are two dangers I want to warn us of this morning as we hear Jesus' command to go. Two problems, and neither of them are appealing or useful. I, broadly speaking, put them like this. The first problem is becoming stagnant water, staying where it is. It may be added to, but it stinks and it causes death. That's the first problem. The second problem is being empty vessels, perhaps offered to others, but ultimately becoming useless. Let's think about that first one, about becoming stagnant water. It doesn't even really make sense. It doesn't really even make sense, because I'm not sure truly that we can come to Jesus, to behold him, to enjoy him, and not want to scream his name from the rooftops. But there it is. More often than we'd care to admit, Christians and the church can become stagnant water. People who receive Christ into us, and there it stops. It doesn't flow from us. Michael Green, an evangelist in the 20th century who I had the privilege of spending some time with, put it like this: the church exists not for itself, for the water to flow into it and to stop there, but it exists for the benefit of those who are not yet members. And here is the warning: the church which lives for itself will surely die by itself. Sometimes we can have this attitude that all the Christian life is about is us receiving, is about us being filled, and that is the terminus, that is the end of it. Our gaze never looks up from ourselves or outside of our four walls, and it makes us stagnant, it makes us stenchy, and ultimately it will lead us to death. Maybe it's expressed in that attitude of, we don't mind others hearing, but if they want to know, they know where to find us. That's a dreadfully sad attitude to have, where we expect those who are lost to somehow find us in order to be pointed to Christ. Imagine Christ having that attitude of being stationary, of being still, of not wanting and seeking avenues for that water, that life to flow out of him. Imagine Jesus holding on to something so that he could benefit rather than us. It wouldn't lead anywhere. It wouldn't lead to hope. It wouldn't lead to life. It wouldn't lead to glory. No, Jesus' pattern that he has lived out is to give what he has. To give the thing which leads him to the point of death. We empty ourselves for the sake of those around us, and that ultimately brings more life, more glory for everyone involved. Jesus, who has invited us to come, truly, if we have responded, if we know who he is too good to keep to ourselves. That's the first problem, potentially, for us as Christians or us as a church, that we are stagnant water, that we seek to fill ourselves up with Jesus and it goes nowhere. Very big danger. Danger number two is that we actually, having come to Jesus, having responded to his instruction to go, to spread that light that we have, that flame that we have, to share that living water that we have so enjoyed, that has so quenched our thirst, is that we've gone, but we've now become empty. That the water that once flowed into us in Jesus has ceased to flow. It's, if you like, the other end of the spectrum, where perhaps Christians and churches have so felt the pressure of always being active, the pressure of always being productive. They've so caught the vision of the Great Commission of spreading Jesus' glory and his fame to the ends of the earth and inviting others to enjoy him, that they've forgotten to enjoy him themselves. They've sought perhaps to seek Jesus with others and become cold towards him, distant from him. They came once, then they heard the command to go, but somehow they missed the idea of remaining and abiding and drinking from him continuously as they go. And that is a tragedy, because ultimately we end up being in a place where we're no use to anybody. We have nothing to take when we have left Jesus behind. And those are two real dangers for us here in our church, in our time, in our place. That we become selfish and stagnant and live as if Jesus is simply for us and the Christian life is about fattening ourselves. Truly we will stink, and that stench will become death. Or we'll get so caught up in this vision of sharing Jesus and making him known that we'll actually forget him for ourselves. And we'll become fruitless, and we'll become ineffective because we can't share a Jesus who we don't enjoy ourselves. So this morning, as we come to that Great Commission, as I've reminded us that Jesus invites us to come and then commands us to go, he instructs us to go, here are two things that I think we should be doing, big picture wise, to make sure that we truly are followers of Jesus, disciples of him, listening to our Master's voice. They're two really simple things, and I'm going to give 3 suggestions of ways we can do these things for both of them, okay? 2 headlines, 3 subpoints each. We need to fan the flames, and we need to spread the fire. We need to fan the flames, we need to spread the fire. Fan the flames of our love, of our joy, of our hope, of our faith in Jesus for ourselves. How do we fan that flame? How do we make sure that we stay full to the brim, that we are filled with living water, that we are in the light and have the light? 3 ways. Number 1, don't be a stranger. We don't talk about Jesus perhaps because we don't talk to Jesus. Surely the most fundamental element in any Christian's life should be this: an ongoing, personal relationship with our Saviour. That's what we've been invited into. So if we want to continue to be a people who love Jesus, who wake up with hope, who wake up each day with joy, who seek his peace and his kingdom, then we need to be a people who talk to Jesus, who spend time with Jesus. So if you want to fan the flame of your affections for him, then don't be a stranger. You won't fall more in love with him by staying far away. Don't be a stranger. But secondly, surround yourself with others who love Jesus. And I don't mean by this get into a tight, holy huddle to the exclusion of those outside the church. Clearly, I don't mean that. What I mean is that there's truth in that picture of coals that come together, who share their warmth, who the warmth of one warms the other and keeps the fire burning. Perhaps part of the reason that you have become cold towards Jesus, that your affections have waned over time, is because you haven't surrounded yourself with others who love Jesus deeply. Don't be a stranger to him, but surround yourself with others who love Jesus as much, if not more, than you do. Tip number 3 for fanning the flame is to rehearse regularly to yourself his ongoing grace in your life. I think as Christians we find it very easily to say dispassionately that God has been gracious to us. How has he been gracious to you? How has he been loving? How has he been kind? He sent his son to die for me so that I can be forgiven and I can be with him forever. But the Bible paints a picture, the Bible introduces us to a Jesus who isn't just kind to us once, that is ongoingly gracious and merciful and loving and kind. If you want to fan the flames of your affections for Jesus, then another thing that you can do, apart from spending time with him and surrounding yourself with others who love Jesus, is to remind yourself, to rehearse regularly his ongoing grace in your life. It's a difficult thing to do, especially for us British people, us Welsh people. We love to complain, we love to mourn. We find it more difficult to share thanks, to share encouragements, to look and to see how God is active in our lives. Not has been active, but is ongoing active in our lives. Fan the flames. Don't be a stranger to Jesus. Surround yourself with others who love Jesus and rehearse regularly his ongoing grace in your life. Or what about the other point then? How do we not just fan the flames? How do we spread that fire? Listen to this. Don't be a stranger. And now I don't mean don't be a stranger to Jesus. I mean don't be a stranger to other people. We cannot share Jesus. We cannot speak for Jesus or live for Jesus in full view of other people if we keep them at an arm's length, if we keep them at a distance. I know we're in a period of pandemic. I know that we're still under restrictions and lockdowns, and people are scared and people have shielding letters and this and that and the other. But there are means, there are ways that we can still draw close, that we can still draw near to people. We can spread that fire by not being strangers, by opening up, opening ourselves up, becoming vulnerable towards other people, listening to them, talking to them. How do we expect to share Jesus with others if we don't know or relate to anybody else? It's obvious. Don't be a stranger. Surround yourself, secondly, with those who need Jesus. I said for the first one, surround yourself with those who love Jesus. Now surround yourself too with those who need Jesus. Can I be honest with you? That when you spend time in the company of those apart from Jesus, sometimes it can look like they have life better than you do. That they're exercising freedom in ways that you wish that you could. They have a license to selfishness and to sin in ways that you're probably envious of. But it doesn't take long spending time with folks. You don't need to look so deep before you see how desperately everyone around us needs to hear Jesus' invitation to come, to find rest, to come, to find peace, to come, to find forgiveness in him. Surround yourself with those who need Jesus. And it might make you feel uncomfortable. It might make you mourn for a while the life of sin that you once led. But you spend long enough there and you will see just how desperately people need what you have. Thirdly, rehearse regularly his ongoing grace in your life, not privately now, but publicly. We've trained ourselves, perhaps at the very least, or sometimes the very most, to speak of Jesus, of God's goodness and grace to us in salvation. But we're weak at speaking about how he continues to be a day by day God to us, how he continues to be a day by day Lord and Saviour, how he is a master whose voice is worth listening to and entrusting ourselves to. If we are truly fanning the flames by staying close to Jesus, by surrounding ourselves with others who love him, by rehearsing regularly to ourselves his ongoing grace, then we get to spread the fire. We get to spread the fire by being close to other people, surrounding ourselves by people who need Jesus, and regularly rehearsing his ongoing grace in our lives, in front of them. Brothers and sisters, Jesus is one who invites and instructs. It's not an either or, it's a both and. That is a wonderful thing. that Jesus calls us to fill ourselves to such an extent that we become an inexhaustible source for those around us. So fan the flame. As we head into 22, fan the flame. Spread the fire. That's what it is to live